Colin's here. Colin's here.
Ready?
Here we go.
Let's call the meeting to order at 5:31. Let's stand for the pledge tonight. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Welcome everyone tonight. Roll call.
Shambo,
Here.
Emily Hunt Daly. Here. Richard Jones. John Sandoval. Ron Ortiz.
Here. Adoption of the agenda tonight, Superintendent. If there's any changes in your recommendation?
Good evening, Mr. President, Board, everybody here. Mr. President, Board, I recommend that we adopt the agenda as presented.
Need a motion?
Garashamu makes the motion to approve the agenda.
Need a second?
Emily Hunt Daly, second.
Roll call.
Dr. Garashambo,
Yes.
Emily Hunt Daly. Yes. Richard Jones,
I'm here.
John Sandoval. Ron Ortiz.
Yes. Motion passes. Adoption of the minutes of August 3rd, 2021. Superintendent Perez, your recommendation?
Yes, sir, Mr. President, Board, I recommend that we adopt the minutes of August 3rd as presented.
Okay, I need a motion.
Garashamu approves.
Emily, motion. Dr. Guy,
Second.
second by Dr. Guy. Roll call.
Dr. Garashambo,
Yes.
Emily Hunt Daly. Yes. Richard Jones.
Aye.
Richard Jones,
Aye.
John Sandoval. Ron Ortiz.
Yes. Recognitions.
Mr. Jones, you might want to put your,
Can you guys hear?
yeah, we got it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, motion carries. Recognitions tonight. Superintendent Perez.
Yes, sir, Mr. President, Board, this evening, it's always an honor to share positives about our staff, and particularly a warehouseman tonight. I don't think he's expecting this, but Mr. Paul Vallejos, he's been a warehouseman here with the district for quite some time. He's one of those people who's constantly at work, constantly busy, doesn't need to be managed, so to speak. Running around the district, all over the district, delivering, carrying, making sure that everything gets to where it needs to be on time. And he too has been working nonstop through the pandemic. And he's one of those people who I think he goes a little bit unnoticed because he's kind of the one-man show. He gets around and he does good work. And I think everybody that I've talked to in the district really appreciates him as a person. We all appreciate him as an employee, quality employee, good work ethic. And so with that, tonight on behalf of the administration and the school board, I'd like to present to you Mr. Vallejos with a token of our appreciation. Commitment to the, appreciate it, to the students of Dunstable County Schools.
All right, right on.
Appreciate your work.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. It's been it's almost 7 years. Okay.
7 years?
Yeah, and it's a little bit fun.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
For sure, yeah. But no, we should appreciate it.
Thank you. We appreciate you, all the work you do.
Board member. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
You're welcome.
Citizens to address the board tonight, we have Giselle Basped. Remember, the board will dedicate 2 to 3 minutes to each citizen to address the board. Remember that the board cannot respond to the comments, but will ask superintendent to look into the concerns. With that, Giselle Basped, it's yours.
Good evening, Board President, Superintendent, and members of the board. My name is Giselle Basped. I'm a junior from Los Lunas High School and a youth advocate for tobacco-free schools. For 1 year, I've been supporting the 24/7 campaign, which helps New Mexico schools adopt, implement, and enforce comprehensive tobacco-free policies. Last school year, a fellow youth advocate spoke to the board twice about how Grants Cabola could update the district tobacco policy to be 100% tobacco-free. We understand that districts have been working hard to meet the many needs of students and staff in this past year and a half. But now that schools are open again for the new school year, we want to bring this issue back to the priority list in order to protect the health and well-being of students and staff. As a reminder, here are the required items that need to be updated in order to make the tobacco policy 100% comprehensive. Include the word distribution as a prohibited action, with tobacco on all school properties and off-site school events for students, staff, and visitors. Include the word possession as a prohibited action, with tobacco for visitors on all property. Signage will be posted around the campuses. Include a communications plan to alert students, staff, and visitors about the tobacco policy. Mention that the district will provide referrals to cessation resources to help students and staff overcome tobacco addiction. Update the discipline protocol to include progressive and supportive measures for students with opportunities for tobacco education and counseling. If the board adopts these changes, 24/7 will provide all schools in the district with tobacco-free signage and toolkits, and will share a press release with local media about the vote. As a high school student from a neighboring district, I would love to see this policy updated because it's estimated that about 1 in 3 New Mexico high school students use an e-cigarette or vaping products. But I believe that we can help lower this by adopting 24/7's comprehensive policy. Grants Cabola can keep campuses free from the harmful influence of tobacco. Thank you so much for your time and consideration. If you'd like to take the next step with the policy, please reach out to our campaign manager, Rafael Elementary. Thank you again and good evening.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Presentations tonight, Superintendent Perez.
Yes, sir, Mr. President, board, this evening, I thought the board would be interested in seeing how the first few days of school went at each of the schools. It's been a while since we've been at this place where we have space to just about all of our students on a face-to-face mode. And it's been exciting. And we'd like to share just a few of the things that we were able to see the first day of school. And I think the principals are here and they might tell us a little bit more about the first day and maybe the second day as well. So I want to just go down the list, and before we go to the schools, I'd like to ask Ms. Jerry Nodal if you can share with us a little bit about transportation, on how that went on the first and second day, or the first few days.
Good evening, Mr. President and members of the board, Mr. Perez. We are up and running. And so we've not been without our hiccups, but we haven't transported in 18 months. So all of our available buses are running. And today we transported the most number of students we have at 526. We currently have 850 students registered, but we are transporting only about 526 of those. And we're following all the safety protocols and looking forward to a smoother and successful school year.
Thank you, Ms. Knowles. Mr. President, Board, I'd like to just get moving through, and then we'd be glad to open up for questions or comments after. At Cebueta Cubero, our HR director, Ms. Lisa Salazar, was out there to visit.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board, Superintendent Mr. Perez. It was a pleasure to report on Cubero and Cebueta. All the students and staff were excited to be there. The staff welcomed the students as they came in, as they were unloading the buses. We had signage throughout the school. Routines were followed. You would have never thought we had not been in school. The students were practicing social distancing. All of the safe practices were in place. They were also at Cubero enrolling new students the first day of school, so that was exciting to see. The classes were very well prepared. All of the desks were, they maintained their social distance, and we're continuing to monitor some of the attendance at Cubero. And so, yes, it was as if we had not skipped a beat. It was so exciting, and the students were excited, and the parents looked relieved and satisfied as well. So it's a pleasure to report on both of those campuses. They did a great job that first day of school.
Thank you. Ms. Martinez.
Good evening, Mr. President and members of the board and Mr. Perez. Our first day went really well for Cubero and Seb. It was great seeing all of our students again. They were happy to see their friends, and they were happy to see their teachers. We had a very supportive group of parents dropping off their students for the first time, whether it was kindergarten or new to Cubero. Everyone was very cooperative in following all of our safety measures. And it's just wonderful to see the students back in the classroom, smiling and just laughing and having a great time. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Next up, Mr. President, Board, Laguna Acoma Mid and High School. I was able to go out there and visit myself, and at the school, I have to tell you, it was very organized, high energy. The staff did a wonderful job at keeping it organized and welcoming the students there. They had the big eagle, open up the balloon eagle, where the students would come in and walk through it. T-shirts were given out, snacks were given out. It just seemed like a lot of positive energy. The T-shirts had some very powerful words of wisdom on there. So it seemed like they paid a lot of attention to detail. And the students seemed like they were very glad to be back together. I think it was probably a little bit awkward since they haven't socialized like that in a couple of years. But I have to say that morning was a wonderful experience, and just seeing the interactions there. So kudos to the Mr. Sanchez and your team there.
Thank you, Mr. Perez. You know, it was really neat to finally be a principal of a school for over a year and finally meet students. As you all know, we did not get to have students last year at all. So to finally meet students and interact with them made me realize why I'm doing what I do and appreciate what I do. And even probably more now, I appreciate the kids more than I ever have. I appreciate what sacrifices had to be made by the staff and the students. And it was really great. We did a great celebration. We had our hawk up, and the kids got to walk through the hawk. It's funny because a lot of kids said, I've never been able to walk through the hawk. This is the first time I've been able to walk through here. We had a great, powerful assembly. It was our focus on the first day was welcoming the kids back and to make them feel welcome, to make them feel like this is their home, and to feel that new energy, the new changes that are coming in the school, to feel all the new staff and all the energy that we're going to provide all the school year to help them feel that. The t-shirts that we gave every student and every staff member, it says, I am strong, I am powerful, I am capable, and I am worthy. So every student got one of those shirts. Every staff member got one of those shirts. I have one for each one of you board members as well, so that you can see the positive energy Laguna Acoma is going to have from now on, not just this year. During the assembly, we had a teacher sing karaoke a few times. The kids got into it. They were singing. it was exactly what we all needed. So I appreciate you, board, Mr. President, Mr. Pettis, the board, and your support and helping us see us through all this. And you guys are always welcome, and the staff would love to have you out.
Thank you. Next up, I'd like to go over to Mesa View, Mr. Maldonado.
It was a very enthusiastic morning. I arrived and Miss Griego runs that school with precision. And I was really excited to be watching kids go and play in the playground, all the parents who came out to bring their kids to school. One thing I was impressed with besides all the enthusiasm, was there were some kids who were also very frightened to be there. It was their first time, some parents. But really what stood out to me was that the staff was very caring and nurturing, and I really appreciated watching that. And I got to hold a couple of kids' hands, so that was really cool as well.
Thank you. Ms. Griego?
Good evening, Mr. President, board members, and Superintendent Pettis. It was a good start. All of our students and parents were really excited to return for the in-person learning. As Mr. Maldonado said, we did have a couple of tears from scared students, and I believe Mr. Maldonado even shed a few. But we are again reassured everyone that it was going to be okay, and we were going to find their classrooms, and it was going to be a good day. And I think Mr. Maldonado, he forgot our t-shirts that morning, so we'll take them at any time, Mr. Maldonado. I know you probably have them in your office, but it was an absolutely wonderful day.
Thank you, Ms. Griego. Next up, Mount Taylor, Dr. Martin.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board, and Superintendent Perez. It was a wonderful day as well at Mount Taylor. Students and parents looked excited as they approached the school site, and everything was really organized. There was one entry point, and parents and students were taking pictures of their first day back at school. The faculty and staff were really excited and happy to see the students back, and they welcomed them in the hallways and all that. And so the safety protocols were all in place, and like I said, it was very organized and a very happy place to be in. Great job to Ms. Garner and the Mount Taylor staff.
Ms. Garner?
Good afternoon, school board members, district leadership team, and Mr. Perez. Thank you very much for the opportunity for me to report out on the first few days of Mount Taylor Elementary. All hands were on deck. Teachers were eagerly awaiting students in their classrooms. The educational aides, the front office staff, even the custodians were helping, assisting students to find their classrooms. In the few days, we're seeing more children enrolling in our school. We're now up to 408. We have 93% attendance, so we're very excited about that. And so far, so good.
Thank you very much. Next up, we have Grants High School and Ms. Reina Sanchez.
Mr. President, members of the board, Grants High School had a very well organized and efficient first day of school. The students were very, very excited to be back at school, and the teachers and staff welcomed them with excitement and enthusiasm. It was such a great experience to be at Grants High School, so thank you, GHS administration, for organizing everything and having everything run so great. Directionality in the hallways was evident. Students already knew, and we're just following right along. All of them had their masks on and were being very compliant with that too. So everybody was very, very excited to do that.
Thank you. Mr. Widener.
Good evening, Mr. President, Mr. Superintendent, members of the board, community members. It's my honor to kind of present on our first couple of days of school. We are having a really good week. The students are very glad to be back. It's interesting because last spring we were on a hybrid model. We had a much smaller population, And now it's really neat to kind of resume the normalcy of what Grants High School is. We are seeing an increase in our numbers. As I mentioned before the meeting started to Mr. Maldonado, we're currently, as of today, at 857. When we ended the school year in May, we were at around 760. So our kids are coming back. A lot of our virtual students are back, and we're working to make sure that everybody has the classes that they need. They're getting the credits they need. The kids are great. They're wonderful as far as constantly wearing their masks, social distancing. They do follow the directions in the hall. And as you all probably know, we are kind of in a couple of construction spots. 2nd Street, we're currently getting a new bridge. And so the kids are having to park on the Roosevelt side of GHS. And so they're very much being conscious of that, making sure that they're being careful in the parking lots, where Mrs. Elkins has done a good job of setting up duties. And we're really excited because this week we get to resume our fall athletics. And so tonight we have a group of parents and students that are at the Performing Arts Center that are going to learn the guidelines for how to reintegrate back into athletics and fall sports. We have our first football game on Friday night at Pirate Stadium.
Thank you, Mr. Widener. And next is Early College High School, and Miss Reina Sanchez was there also.
Mr. Pettis, Ms. Aldar, and I got to visit a little bit after lunch at Early College High School. And already after lunch, the students looked like they hadn't missed a beat. They were working, they were visiting with each other, they were happy to be there. Some of them had even started a project in one of the classrooms a couple hours into the very first day. And so they just, I think it's a close-knit little school, and they just didn't skip at all. They just kept on working.
Thank you, Dr. Eisenbart.
Yes, good evening, Mr. President, members of the board, and Superintendent Perez. Yeah, we had a great start to the year as well, and the students that the visitors saw were our incoming freshmen mainly. Those are the students we teach face-to-face. One interesting aspect of our beginning of our school this year is that more than half of our classes are dual credit classes taken through New Mexico State University. This fall, we will have 78 dual credit classes that students have registered for, and that's the most we've ever had. If all goes as planned, we plan to have over 100 dual credit classes registered next year at this time. So those numbers are increasing all the time. So the New Mexico State classes start tomorrow. So there's been a lot of scheduling and advising activity going on with those. All the students and parents have got their schedules, both for New Mexico State University and Early College High School, and also their revised degree and graduation plans. So that's what we've been doing at Early College High School.
Thank you, Dr. Eisenbart. Next up is Bluewater Elementary, and we had Ms. Rosanne Pascual there.
Good evening, school board members, Superintendent Perez, and everyone on the meeting here tonight. I just wanted to say I give a high five to Mr. Miller at Bluewater, and especially Aaron Burks for the welcome that I received. I didn't realize I was there a little too early, but I was there talking with parents in the parking lot. I even saw teachers then coming in. They were really surprised that someone from central office was there to support them on the first day, and they were just so thrilled. I even got to talk with the children. I sat down with them. I helped prepare their breakfast. I was escorted into the classrooms. Some of the students even showed me how to use their water bottles. They showed me what they were wearing as far as their masks and how to sanitize. The teachers were very welcoming. And I just want to say thank you, Mr. Miller, for for all the the welcoming that I received. It was really great.
Thank you, Ms. Busco. Mr. Miller?
Superintendent Pettis, Mr. President, board members and guests, hey, thank you for those kind comments, but I'll tell you what, that's been going on at Bluewater for quite a few years. I can't take too much credit for the things that they do out there because I'm just kind of guiding the ship, and they're kind of rolling the oars and things. But I'll tell you what, for approximately a year and a half, the students, teachers, and parents have not been together. So everyone was very excited about seeing one another and being in a face-to-face situation. The parents were happy for two things. One, they were able to drop off their children at the school. And the second one was we have a lot of calls and a lot of compliments about the district supplying the supplies for school this year for the students. And the students were excited about seeing friends and classmates, and the teachers were extremely responsive to be able to teach in a classroom setting. Throughout the day, it was a little more chatty in the classroom at the beginning of the day, but the students settled down and got busy with their assignments. They were just so happy to see each other. And I'm real excited about this year. I think we're gonna see really good things happen. And at this time, there's 72 students at Bluewater, and open house is 30th of August, and hopefully things will keep going the way they are so we can have our carnival in October. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. And next up, we have Moan Elementary, Mr. Lee.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board, Superintendent Salas. If there was any theme to somebody driving up and walking into the building, it was a sense of security and safety. There was a lot of law enforcement. They were shaking hands with kids, taking pictures with kids, and they had, I believe, Ms. DeArmond can correct me if I'm wrong, but Wally the Wildcat was out there, a new mascot for them, and they were taking pictures with that, with the mascot. Real sense of pride and a real sense of safety. So great job to Ms. DeArmond and Ms. Coles and their staff.
Thank you, Ms. DeArmond.
Good evening, Superintendent Pettis and board members. And thank you, Mr. Lee, for sharing the morning with us. We did have a great sense of renewed energy and excitement with both staff, students, and parents. There was a sense of commitment by all of our staff, and again, the students as well. They were so excited to be back. Everyone's motivated. We have a great momentum that we started with, and we just talked about it yesterday, that we hope that continues throughout the year. Even with bumps in the road, we know that we're going to strive to continue that excitement, pride, and momentum. We had a lot of community support, as we always do. Milan is great for that. The old proverb says it takes a village to raise a child, and we have the village of Milan. We have it, and it's amazing, and it shows. They also donated some supplies. They took it upon themselves to come in and do that. So we have 4 new teachers returning. They are amazing. They're already part of the family. The returning teachers just got them and embraced them, and they all got to work. We have 444 students enrolled with pre-K, and we are excited for a wonderful year. Thank you for everything that the district has done to help us get started.
Thank you, Ms. DeArmond. Next up, we have Los Alamitos Middle School. Ms. Whitebird was not able to make it this evening, so she did share that at Los Alamitos, she was there, that things did go really well there. The staff was excited to greet the students back. Everything was very orderly. Although she wasn't at the parent drop-off, she heard the staff and had welcome signs, greeted families, directed traffic. All the safety measures were in place and practiced. So she said it was a blessing to see. With that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Amiro.
Hi, good evening, members of the board, Mr. Board President and Superintendent Pettis. This year at LAMS, our mantra is LAMS Stronger Together. And with that, we just want everyone to know that We are coming back and we're coming out of this 17-month pandemic, and we will be stronger together. I'm also happy to report that we had a very successful welcome back with our students. In lieu of a big assembly where we gather all the students like we normally would, we created a welcome back PowerPoint that everyone shared. We filmed videos of the administrative team sharing welcome back messages. And then we also did like a chant and cheer with our staff so that the students could see that. It was just a really great experience welcoming our kids back. Some of them, this was their first time stepping foot in the building as a middle school student. It was an overall good experience. As everyone else had said, our enrollment is up. We're at currently 462, and we probably have another 7 or 8 that came and enrolled today. So our attendance and our enrollment is on the up. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Emil. Next up, we have San Rafael Elementary, Ms. Delise Jones.
Good afternoon, Mr. President, members of the board, and Mr. Pettis. I have to tell you that my experience at San Rafael was wonderful. The kids came with their new backpacks and their new clothes and shoes, and their hair was beautiful. The little girl's hair was beautiful with bows, and the little boys had haircuts, and they were getting out of their cars, and they were all so excited to be there. And you could feel the excitement in it with everything that everybody was doing. At San Rafael, the kids were all welcomed with knowing their names and the parents' names and this little sister and that little brother. It was a really neat experience. When it was time to go inside, the kids all lined up. They did exactly what they were supposed to do. They quietly went inside, walking in straight lines. They sat at their desks and got their breakfast out. I went to all the different classrooms. The kids were all eating their breakfast. One of the teachers was running late, and so someone just stepped right up and got the class going and got the breakfast out, and it just was a wonderful, wonderful experience. And again, as everyone has said, everybody was so glad to see the kids, and the kids were so glad to be there. So wonderful experience at San Rafael, and beautiful children, and the teachers were just really excited. I met some new teachers, so very happy to have been able to be out there last Thursday morning.
Thank you. So back to you, Mr. Miller.
All right. Thank you, Mrs. Jones. It's a real exciting place, San Rafael schools. We lost some pretty good people, to other schools, things there, but we replaced them with really, really outstanding people also. But everyone is excited to get back to what one teacher put as the good old days of face-to-face education. And once again, I think we're going to have a really good year. I hope we get to stay face-to-face, the rest of the school year. But anyway, and a couple of things that are coming up is open house is August 25th, and our book fair is August 20th through the 27th. And at this time, we have 57 students enrolled in San Rafael.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. I'd like, even though Mr. President, board, community, it sounds really bright and sunny with all of these wonderful things that happened the first couple of days, but I'd like to make everybody aware and be assured that we're also prepared for changes. We're watching, trying to keep our tabs on what's going on throughout the state and throughout the nation with the virus. And so the team that you have here before you, we also are we're very realistic about the possibilities of how things could change on us at the drop of a hat. So we are, along with all of this that you just heard, We're also ready to switch to different modes if we are so, if we're having to do so to adapt to our changing environment. So just thank you, Mr. President. Thank you all.
Any comments or anything to add to what was said tonight from our board members?
Mr. President.
Yes, Dr. Guy.
Mr. Pettis, would you have Jerry again give us a bit more detail on the transportation? And were there any overloads or any issues of that sort?
No, sir, there were no overloads. Our one bus that's close has 35 students on board, and we're permitted to transport 46. So we haven't hit close to capacity on any of the buses except that one.
What are the requirements for seating?
We are allowed to have 2 students per seat. And what we're doing is wherever possible with the lower capacities, we're sitting 1 per seat, but we are permitted to have 2 students per seat. And we're trying to keep family members together as much as possible. And also we are loading, our first pickups will board to the back of the bus, and then we will unload from the front to the back. So everybody's just taking their time and, just being as safe as we possibly can in such a tight space.
Thank you.
I'd like to thank all the principals and all your staff for all the hard work that you do for our communities, for our students. And I know sometimes you go not recognized, but I really honestly see what you all go through and all the hard work that you put in to make our students better every day. So thank you. Big shout out to you guys.
Mr. President, I'd like to speak when you get a chance.
Yes. Go ahead.
I'll echo what you're saying right there, Mr. Ortiz. I think that the staff, the principals, and the staff, the ridiculous hoops that the state and our government has made you all jump through is reprehensible, and you guys have done it all in stride, and I appreciate each and every one of you. I know it can't be easy. I shouldn't say I know, because I don't know, but I from the outside looking in, it can't be easy. And we continue, or the state or the local government continues to put sanctions on us that are, in my opinion, uncalled for, and you guys just keep doing it. And I know I appreciate that you guys have the students in mind, and I appreciate that greatly. I mean, I don't know how you keep a mask on a first grader and make him try to learn all at the same time. It's just ridiculous, but I know you guys are getting it done, and I appreciate all facets that you guys have went through, and my hat's off to you. And if I could do anything for you at all, please reach out, because I do appreciate the hard work that you all have done.
Mr. President, I'd also like to comment. Thank you, principals, administrators. I really love the idea that the administrators went to the schools. I know our superintendent can't be in 15 places at once, so having you go and witness it firsthand, that was an excellent move on the part to get recognition for all the schools. And just, our ultimate goal is to keep our students and our teachers safe. And so I applaud your efforts and keep up the good work. This new variant that's coming out is really sending the state into a whirlwind. So let's just keep doing what we're doing to keep our students and our teachers safe. Thank you.
Thank you, board members. And thank you again, principals and all your staff. Superintendent Perez, enrollment and attendance status.
Yes, sir. Mr. President, Board, next up we have, I think the board and the community needs to know how we're doing with enrollment and attendance for the first few days. So we have some, we have a little bit of a sharing here. Take me just a minute. Okay, Ms. Sanchez.
Mr. President, members of the board, Mr. Pettis.
Get the mic.
Can't hear her. Speak up.
We're gonna microphone.
We're working on it. Okay, so we have an enrollment report and attendance report for you today. I just wanted to preface with, remember that this information changes by the minute. And so we have students that are enrolling or students that are dropping or students that are not there on one day. And so this is just a snapshot from this morning. And so if there's numbers that are a little bit off from what the principals reported earlier, it's just because I did this morning and they reported from the end of the day. And so, like I said, pre-K gets enrolled and those kind of things. And so we'll just go through. Our total enrollment as of this morning was 3,234 students. And I know that's gone up since then. For Bluewater, we're down right now about 5 students, but I know that they had plans on enrolling 1 today and a couple in the next days. Cubero is at 213 students today, and when I did this snapshot, and so they're down about 11 from May 1st. Mesa View is down 3 from May 1st to August 17th. And so you can just see the difference there. Milan is right about the same, and I think as they put in their new students today, they well exceeded that number. Mount Taylor is down 21 students, but they did have some that are re-enrolling, some that have come back. San Rafael is down 1 with a few more that need to enroll. Cebolleta is down 3. Los Alamitos is up 32 students. And so a lot of the students came back from online is what Mr. Jaravillo was reporting. Grants High School went from 779 on May 1st to 857. And so they're up 78 students. Laguna Acoma Junior High School was a difference of only 1 student, and the high school had a difference of 9 students. And so there was 9 students more on today's date than in May. And then the early college high school added a cohort, and so they are up 6 students. I think there's 12 that were freshmen. I think we ended up with 9. And so our totals, we are up 79 students, and that number has continued to rise since the first day of school. And so we'll have another report for you very soon. Also on the 10th day of school, you know, some of those that have 10 consecutive absences, we will go through the process to drop those. The students that have not been in attendance, so the number, this shows the number of students that are enrolled and then the percent of students that are in attendance. So the column to your right, the number of students not in attendance are the students that have not been in attendance since day 1. And so for Bluewater, for instance, we only have 1 student, and then the number goes down. For all of these students that have not been in attendance at all, we have a representative at every campus that's working really hard to contact these students and to figure out if they enrolled in a different school or if they just need to be reconnected and try to get them back in. And so those people are working really closely with Trish Garcia, our district outreach specialist, and they're following the Attendance for Success Act, and they're working really hard to get those students back in or to figure out where they are or what they're doing. Go ahead. And then here is the rest of the schools and the number of students that are not in attendance. And like I said, we're still looking to see where those are. They've already started contacting those families. They've already started doing the initial contact. And then after that, we'll start doing home visits and welfare checks and those kind of things for these students. And so we have 146 students that we're working on right now with our STAR team, with our district outreach specialist. She's working on all of that with them. We're working with Juvenile Probation Office. We're working with Engage New Mexico. We have meetings set up with all of them within the next week. And then Trish will meet with all of the EWS or STAR specialists at every campus, and she'll meet with them on Thursday and get all of this done.
That's it for this.
Do you have any questions?
Mr. President, I have a question. Those numbers of missing or in attendance, those don't include those that are missing, right? The first
in attendance, that includes the ones that are missing.
Okay, so the actual people in attendance is a lot.
Yes,
a lot lower.
The actual numbers in attendance is only 146 lower than the 3,234.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Ms. Sanchez. Any other comments or questions from the board? If not, Superintendent Perez, Bluewater design and budget update. We have a guest tonight.
Yes, sir. So, Mr. President, board, we have a presentation this evening on the Bluewater design and budget update. We have the design committee here, along with the professionals that are guiding us through the process. We also have here with us is our State Representative Harry Garcia, who's been very involved in the whole process, and he's also part of the design committee, and we'll be sharing alongside the rest of with the presentation here as we move through it. So at this point, I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Lee.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board, Superintendent Perez. The group that has been working for about 8 months on Bluewater Elementary School is here tonight, and that is Sanjay Engineer, and he'll be the lead on that. We also have a few of the others. I see Antonio's name there as well. So, Mr. Engineer, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Vance. Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board, Superintendent Perez. We have an update on the Bluewater's design progress today, and I'm hoping I can share the screen to show my documents here. Maybe these were shared with the board, but if not, I'm going to go through and give an overview of where we stand. As Mr. Lee said, I have Antonio Bihil with me. He's project architect. Jeremy Trumbull, who has made presentations in the past, is on vacation today. But we are in the design development phase, and we are at a very critical juncture of making some important decisions with the district, as well as reviews from the State Public School Facilities Authority to move forward with finishing up the documentation, get the project bid out, and then soon thereafter in construction. We're going to share some of the highlights of our schedule in a few minutes here as well. What you're seeing on your screen is an updated site plan. We now have the survey, the official survey of the property with all the topographic information and site details. So we have made significant progress with the location of the building itself. The new school is located on the north side of the campus, access from Center Avenue. All of the vehicular circulation for parent pickup and drop off, staff parking, all of it is going to occur from Center Avenue. with the new school's construction located north of the existing school, which is shown in the dashed line here. The existing school will remain functional while the new school is under construction. Playgrounds are all located on the east and south side, along with the playfield on the east side of the school. After the new construction is complete, the old building will be demolished and site improvements will be completed. The school's layout is very much the same as we have presented in the past. The main entrance, one single point of access into the campus, controlled from the administration, located right in front of the school. We have the upper grades, third, fourth, and fifth on the eastern side of the school's wing. And then the lower kids, or the primary kids with kindergarten, first and second, located on the south wing. We have some special education programs. And then right off the main entry, we have the multipurpose space, which includes the gymnasium, large gymnasium, as well as the cafeteria, and then the kitchen component that supports the cafeteria component. So the layout is very much in line with what we have developed along with the direction from the school building committee. Here are some images from the exterior. You've seen these. The vocabulary is developed based on the vernacular of the Bluewater area with pitched roofs, supporting the architecture of the region. A main entrance, which is welcoming, administration with front door control as well as control of the parking area. This is showing the upper grades, as I mentioned. And then there are some more views of the building, close-up of the entrance itself next to the gymnasium. This is showing the lower grade wing with playgrounds. The library is right there. Here is the music classroom with its outdoor activity areas, and then the gymnasium located from the west side. We have some interior imagery that we have shared with the building committee. This is from the lobby in the center of the hallways, intersecting with the library that you're looking in, the upper grade wings down here, administrative control to the left-hand side. And then a view from the library itself, a lot of natural light coming from the south side into the library itself. And then one of the classrooms, most of the classrooms are similar in their character, but we've developed them to allow for a lot of different activities for kids to have, concentrated areas for learning or soft sitting areas where they can have more informal type of instruction as well. Storage for the teachers along one wall to support all of their instructional needs. Here is a view of the gymnasium itself, looking kind of towards the main entrance of the school. This would also serve as the community entrance for after hours, where the entire school can be locked off and only access is for the community through this point here, and some restrooms that they would have access. We have developed an order of magnitude project estimate at this point. We are currently in a very kind of review phase with the Public School Facilities Authority. We finished first review with them. The project square footage is somewhat under consideration, and based on the remaining portion of our presentation, this budget will be updated depending on the direction that we take. Today's presentation is going to focus on some options that we want to share with you, mostly associated with the state adequacy requirements. As you all are familiar, the state has a certain size for the school that they have approved, which is 18,171 square feet. And currently the design is about 4,500 square feet bigger based on the educational needs and requirements at Bluewater Elementary. We're going to show you in several options how we can fine tune some of these program areas to get closer to the state adequacy requirements. The goal there is obviously to have as little above adequacy area, because that portion is fully supported by the district, yet we do not want to sacrifice any program spaces as well. So today we want to kind of share with you some of those details. We had a very productive meeting with the school building committee a week ago. We're going to follow up with them to make some final determination. We have 4 options. What you're looking at on the left-hand side is the current layout. Antonio is going to go into some of the highlights of each option. So I'm going to start with option number 1. This is actually the current layout of the facility. We are about 4,700 square feet over adequacy. And here is option 1, Antonio. Antonio, are you there? Well, I guess his audio might be off. In the meantime, I will pick up and make the presentation. What you're seeing here is in blue areas are some of the tightening of the building as we kind of look at massaging the program down to a smaller square footage. The highlighted sections are spaces that have been somewhat tailored down to meet adequacy requirements based on state public school facility authorities' recommendations. By doing that and tightening up some of the administrative spaces in this option, we actually took out some of the physical education storage, and we actually put it into the center portion of the building. We did not lose the program. So in this version, none of the program spaces is sacrificed. It is just tightening of the building a little bit on all 4 sides, which reduces the square footage by almost 740 square feet based on the previous designed version. And it makes the above adequacy square feet about 3,500 square feet compared to 4,500 square feet in the previous version. The next option.
Sanjay, I think I'm available now. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Yeah, I think your audio was off. You want to take over?
Yeah, I had to get, yep, exactly. I'm on. Thank you guys. Yeah, I'll jump in. You can come in as you need it. So yeah, I'd say as we move on to the second option, here's where we really started to reduce a little bit of the square footage in terms of the program. Highlighted in the red dots are the general classrooms that now get reduced to about 650 square feet each. The yellow dots are also reduced in those sort of specialty areas and classrooms. So Native American education, art, testing, special ed, and the music, OT, and PT classrooms all get reduced slightly in this configuration, as well as the gym to meet adequacy. So that comes down to about 2,600 square feet over adequacy still. And we've done some reduction calculations based on our cost estimate to know that we're still, above about 900,000 above adequacy that would have to be funded by the district. We also know there is some direct appropriated funds, so we've added that to the calculation as well, of 850,000 to kind of get us to a final number on how much over that would be in each scenario. Option 3 is actually where we begin to eliminate some spaces. Option 3 and 4, as we've discussed with the school committee, probably won't meet their educational needs. In this scenario, we've actually eliminated 2 of the specialty classrooms, which would basically put all of those specialty classrooms that I mentioned previously into one space. Into sort of a large multi-purpose classroom that would share all of those elements. But it does still keep one of those, and it does keep the special ed at a reduced area, and the classrooms are still reduced in this as well. That is about 1,400 square feet over adequacy area still, which brings us to about 500,000 additional cost, but that can be eliminated with the direct appropriated funds in this scenario. And as Sanjay may have mentioned, we did work with PSFA closely just to come up with these options to, give the school board in the district an idea of options that could happen to reduce some of these funding issues potentially. This 4th option, is also doesn't meet the educational needs, but as you can see, the building footprint gets reduced quite significantly. As you can see in the blue area is the original footprint of where we're at currently. Here, there is no specialty classrooms. So as other schools have done in this scenario, things such as art would have to be, on a cart and go into a general classroom for use. So the classrooms would have to function kind of dual purposely without some of these specialty classrooms operating on their own. But this does really get us to about what the PSFA adequacy is. I think we're still 200 square feet above, but this kind of shows what what that 18,000 and change square footage would have to look like.
Antonio, we'll talk about schedule in just a minute, but I think I want to go back to this drawing here to give a summary of what you just said. We've obviously discussed the educational needs with the school building committee from the early start of project development, starting last September onwards. And when we came up with the school's design, it was purely with the requirements that would support the Bluewater schools spaces right now, and also look at some additional capacities in the event that there was a minor increase in enrollment because a new school is going to be built. Options 1 and options 2 are not that far off from this design. Clearly, option 1 is very close to the design, just a minor adjustment of spaces. Option 2 obviously has further adjustments in classroom instructional areas, but talking with the building committee, option 3 and 4 clearly did not support their needs, and it would have kind of drastic impact to educational needs at the school. Yet I think we wanted to do this exercise because this project is being developed in close collaboration with Public School Facilities Authority. They are a major share of the project at 75% of the overall project cost, working with Vance and his group, as well as the state. We wanted to, give the district these options for considerations. I do want to open up for questions, but before I do that, I wanted to have Antonio quickly give you an overview of the project schedule, and then we can fully open up for questions. Antonio?
Sure, yeah, thanks. Right now, we're finishing design development of the drawing, so we're nearing completion of that. We kind of wanted to get final approval on the direction of square footage that we just talked about, and then we'll have finished this design development portion, and we'll move into the construction drawings, or the construction documents, which is the final phase of design. Which will take about 7 weeks and get us into about completing those, mid-October, and submitting those for permit and final PSFA review. That'll take us right into about December, nearing the end of the year, where we can bid this project out. I think we do want to give plenty of time for bidding, given some of the construction, issues that we face ahead. One thing that we have been talking about internally and with the committee, Vance, is that there has been some long lead items in terms of construction as of recent. So giving the contractor sort of a pre-construction period in order to order materials and make sure they get in on time by the time they actually are on site and that we can begin work. We think that's kind of an approach we have, but they would still be able to start actual construction in June of 2022, hoping to have secured all those materials and got a little bit of the paperwork out of the way. We still are given 10 months of construction to finish the building, and then do some demo and site work with an additional 3 months. So about 13 months of actual construction, but still be able to start this school year 2023 in the beginning of the year in the new building, completed project.
Thank you, Antonio. I think I would like to open up for any questions that the board has.
Thank you, Mr. President, for involving this project today. It's a lot of presentation, Mr. President. Concerns are Bluewater School. We don't have option 3 and 4. You have a picture, about the school district. $50,000 so we could get our spending the board.
I can't understand whoever's talking.
It's can you hear me now?
Clearer.
Good. Anyway, the options on the board today.
Who's talking?
I'm sorry, let me introduce myself. My name is Harry Garcia. I'm a New Mexico State representative for House District 69, which covers parts of San Juan, McKinley, Cibola, Bernalillo, Valencia, and Socorro counties. And Bluewater is in my district. And we've been working on this school because it was downsized too much from the original plan of 22,000 square foot to, I think at one point it was 14,000 square foot. I have been working with PSFA to get funding to make this school to what is adequate for our students, which is the only option that I see up there that is any good is option number 1. I got the school district $850,000 with no match money so they could go to what not me, but the citizens of Bluewater wanted for their kids in that school. And that was a 22,000 square foot. To me, if we cut it down all we're gonna do is cut down for our kids, how they attend school. We cannot be cramming up kids in smaller schools and expect to a good outcome of it. PSFA said that the enrollment had fallen at Bluewater, so therefore the smaller school would be a good issue And I think that's the wrong judgment, because what's gonna happen here, ladies and gentlemen, board members, Mr. President, is, what happened in Cubero. Their school is too small. Now we're scrambling to make it bigger to, suit the kids that are going to that school. And I don't want that to happen in Bluewater, because that's exactly what's gonna happen. For 2 years from now or 3 years from now, we're gonna say, well, we should have built it the size we had to begin with. And you know, I don't know the financial status of the district, but I think the last meeting we had, there was a $900,000 difference on what they had to what the school district had to match to do the number one option. And to me, we really need to look at the options here, because remember, at the end of the day, it's all about our kids, not about us, not about what we want or how much the school district is gonna save by not doing what is right. And the only thing right here, Mr. President and board members, is option number one. You know, I don't think myself or the people that live at Bluewater would want any less for their students. You know, right now, Mr. President and board members, you go to any school, anywhere else in the state of Mexico, especially Albuquerque and Rio Ranchos, and they have the best of everything. Here we are trying to scramble to downsize what it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be happening. We should be on the same level as everybody else, because our kids deserve the best, not any less than that. And I will not stand for any less than that. And you know, at the end of the day, I have no say-so over it, because it's going to be to the school board to say yes or no. And I expect, and I would appreciate the school board to really look at what's happening here, so we don't have the same problem we wound up in Cubero, because that's exactly what's going to happen. You guys have lived it. You know what's going on in Cubero. You know, they're using, Mr. President and school board members, they're using their gym as a cafeteria because their school is too small. And we don't want this to happen in Bluewater. And the route we're going here on these other options, that's exactly what's going to happen. You know, and I'm here to try to help the whole district, not just Bluewater School, but the whole district. It just happened that we got involved in this Bluewater School probably a year ago because it was way too small. And what the PSFA told me, wow, we made a mistake on going to 14,000 square foot. That was a big mistake. So they said, well, we're going to do it to 17,000, and that's not suitable either. Mr. President, board members, you know, I don't want to take up a whole bunch of time, but you really, really need to look at this and really, really look at what is best for our kids. Because we do not want them jammed up in small classrooms, because it just doesn't work. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, State Representative Mr. Garcia. Next.
So, Mr. Lee, did you want to wrap up, or are we ready for questions?
No, I just want, Mr. President, members of the board, Mr. Pettis, I just want to thank FBT for the work they've done. This is really going above and beyond to show basically 5 options, but to really dwell down on the budget and the budget constraints that are there. You know, it's everything the PSFA does is based on student numbers, and that's the fight that we're fighting. And I know when they were at 14,000 square feet, Max, you went in there and you fought for that 18,000 square feet, and we got it. You know, it's work between all of us to try to do the best we can for Bluewater as well as the other 9 school sites. So, but I would like to thank FBT, and great job, guys. Appreciate it.
Okay, with that, is there any questions or comments from the board? I'd like to start out by thanking our state representative for being here and helping us with our Bluewater school. And I know he mentioned option 1, but you know, I hate to throw a wrench into the mix, but I really like the current design, which was 22,959. And I don't know what kind of costs there's going to be to the district after what we got from the state. And I'd really like for the board to look at that current design instead of going to option one for right now. Now, if we have to decide between those two, then I'll respect whatever decision the board makes. I just wanted to throw my 10 cents in.
Mr. President, members of the board, also like to make it clear, and please, anybody out there, correct me if I'm mistaken, but with the current design, see, the over adequacy is 1.6 and 1.7. Okay, can you hear me now? So the current design is 1.7 over adequacy. The direct appropriation that we're receiving is 850,000 that Representative Garcia mentioned. That leaves a balance of 845,000. Now I believe that we get the offset on that, so we don't pay the full 100% of that over adequacy. I believe that we're getting the offset on that too. So I believe it's about 85% that the state takes care of, and then we pay about 15% of that. So that's what the total over adequacy cost would be for the district if we went for that in that route. Of course, we're not voting on this tonight, but just something to think about. It would be closer to the district cost being 100,000, 150,000.
Mr. Perez, just for clarification and members of the board, that offset is 110,000 on the next project. It would be on a future project. We would realize about 740,000, which would mean the district over adequacy would actually be, well, it would be 845 on this project, but it would be 110. We would owe 110,000 on a future project, which would most likely be Mesa View.
State Representative, Mr. Garcia, you have a comment?
Yes, sir, Mr. President. On the last meeting we had with Vance Lee, the state clearly told you that whatever the Bluewater School took, it will not affect anything to do with a new school. Was Mesa View School. And also on that 850,000, there is no match to it. I verified that before I came to this meeting today. There is no match on that 850,000. And I don't know all your numbers that you're putting out there because I'm not in the district. I mean, in your school board and stuff. But they assured me that would have no effect on the new school you're building here in Grants. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Garcia.
Just for clarity, the 850,000 that he's talking about, direct appropriation is a clear. We don't have to pay a match on that. The next amount there, the over adequacy, that's the amount that we would pay the $110,000 on, just for clarity.
Mr. President, I have a question for Mr. Garcia. I applaud your efforts in working with the school and the design. Perhaps the state could provide some of that money that the district would have to use from their budget. I don't know what you call it, but I call it a slush fund. You don't have any slush fund money you could send our way to offset some of the costs, direct costs to the district?
On that question, ma'am, I can look in to see what's available for the district. I'm not going to tell you this will happen and more won't happen because I just don't have that answer right in front of me. But we can look into it. I do send appropriations in Santa Fe, and whatever I can do to make this happen, that's what I'm here for. That's why I came to this meeting. And like I said, at the end of the day, I have no say so over it. The board has all the say so, but we really need to look at what the people want and what's best for our kids. And I can get back to you on that question, man.
Okay, we'll take a check next time you're in town.
I live here in Grants. I'm here all the time. Thank you.
Any other thoughts, questions from the board? Mr. Jones, Dr. Guy?
Yes, this is Mr. Mr. Ortiz, Mr. President, Mr. Perez. I need to see a better cost analysis than what I'm seeing here. Visually, it's hard for me to see this on a laptop. What I want to see is a table that lists the different options right across so I can see. And then a better explanation of offsets. I don't understand that. And I don't understand the term, I'm not sure what it was, educational need. I don't know what that means. I think the state, when we talk about facilities and the construction of them, we go through educational specifications that are based upon what the state says you must provide an education for. In this instance, it's K through 6. So the education of these kids is supposed to be accomplished with a facility that meets those educational requirements or specifications. And we know what those are typically. And so what Bluewater and all the other schools are trying to do is to figure out, based upon what we're supposed to teach the kids, based upon the number of students we have, based upon a history of enrollment, we then can imagine and dream about what it is we would like to have as a school. So when we say educational need, I'm not sure if that's just a term that was developed by the architects or what, but I'm a bit fuzzy about that. For instance, when we talk about the Native American room, I don't know what was going to go on there. I know what's going to happen in regular classrooms. It's going to be used all day. So I'm looking at classrooms that are going to be used all day. And those classrooms that are not going to be used all day, I need to know why they're not going to be used all day. And how many students are going to be using those additional rooms each period of the day. So we'd have some understanding of what size we need. And so if we have a room for Native American studies, are we saying that every period that there's going to be X number of students in that classroom pulled out during the day? When it comes to special fine arts, is that going to be the same thing? Are we having fine arts in that classroom in current design? I don't know. So it's those kinds of details that the administration needs to document. And I haven't heard the documentation so far. Now, when it comes to option 1, 2, 3, and 4, I'm looking at on the screen the details, and it's hard to see. So that's why I need a table to show. And then at the bottom of each column would be an explanation of what the state is going to provide, what the district is going to provide, and any other kind of unique kinds of funding requirements this net offset. Here we had someone mention offsets, and all of a sudden we've got 2 or 3 different statements about what that is. We need to be clear. This is huge money. And I'm not hearing a real good, I'm not seeing presented a good analysis. I think what the architects did is not over and above. I think that is an excellent overview of the 4 options. That's what we should have. So that's what I would want to see. It's easy for us to say, okay, let's just go ahead and just give them $150,000. The problem with that is that, Mr. Garcia, we have to commit ourselves to the development of facilities for Milan, Mesa View, Mont Taylor, and any of the other facilities that are in our master plan. If we do this for one, then we need to commit ourselves to doing that for the other schools. That is how we do things. It must be systematic. It must be based upon the master plan, and the administration has not shown us that yet. So I got to see how that's going to fit into our in our master plan. When we make decisions that are as important as this for this one school, then it must be an approach that we take for the other schools. Mr. Garcia, Representative Garcia mentioned Cubero. We did not have at Cubero this kind of discussion. And unfortunately, it almost exceeded capacity the very year it was built. This facility has lost enrollment. We just heard. So we're trying to build for a possible enrollment in the future. And the hope is that will continue to increase. So there's some differences. When the board makes a decision on expenditure of large sums of money, it must have a understanding of how it arrived at its decision. It must be systematic. It must be in part of the overarching master plan that we have. And if we are starting to consider utilizing additional district funds over and above what we said we would do, the 25%, then are we going to be consistent and do that for the other schools that are in line for new facilities? This is what I think we need to see. And between now and that next the timeline, there has to be a board meeting where the administration fully explains this and enables us to understand what is in the best interest of the district and how it uses its funds and how it can meet the needs of a school based upon its efforts to provide instruction and also based upon projected enrollments. That's what I need to say on this. If I have not explained myself clearly, I probably will give you, Mr. Perez, some additional comments or thoughts in writing a little bit later. But that's what I need to see. I need to see a table that lists all these different options, 1, 2, 3, and 4. It sounds like some of the board members are already saying, let's not do that. Let's just go to current design and go with that. If we do that, then it means that we're going to do that with every one of the other schools. And I don't know how that can be systematic. Mr. Perez, I think it's, I would strongly urge you to provide us the necessary information so that we can fully support what it is together as a board, what it is that we need to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. Any other comments, questions from the board?
Just real quick, I have I'll just be in and out real fast.
Okay.
The word, Dr. Guy, systematic is something that evolves every time. You're correct. We didn't have this conversation when it came to Cubero School, but it's a good thing that we're having the conversation now. Yes. I mean, to me, I believe that this is the most information I've ever had going into a new site.
Yes.
I mean, I'm more thankful for this one than any up till now. I thought we had already, and I'm talking to Mr. Garcia right now, I thought we'd already been past the 14,000 square and moved on to where we are right now. I thought all that was behind us, and maybe I'm wrong on that. I mean, I appreciate this presentation right now, and I would love to get with the board together. I'm with you there, Dr. Guy, we'll have a meeting, but I take this as a positive step and a positive, and if you want to say systematic, maybe this needs to be our new system.
Yes.
Because I do appreciate what they're doing for us, and as far as Mr. Garcia is concerned, I promise you, everybody on the board wants the biggest, best classroom we can for those students. It's not like we're trying to opt out for the cheaper version. I mean, one thing about our school district is we're basically financially strong. We really are. And 100% of the time, whether our board has agreed or not, 100% of the time, we have opted for the best option, I think. So I'll end with, I do appreciate this knowledge, and I do appreciate the presentation, but we got to get past the past and move towards the future. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Mr. Perez?
Yeah, so just, I appreciate the question, Mr. Jones. Just for clarification, yes, you're absolutely correct. We have moved way beyond the 14,000 square foot. We went to that low spot a few months ago, and with the help of the committee, the community, Mr. Garcia, Mr. Lee, been going to bat and been pretty successful at being able to have these other options in front of you. So I think you're absolutely right. We're past the 14,000. At least from what I'm sensing now, it looks like the three options on the table are the current design, option 1, option 2. If we had to sum it up. And when we talk about this further, I can explain my thoughts on it. I found that, just so you know, I haven't talked to anybody about choosing any of the options, but I find the current design option attractive in the fact that we're having $1.7 million over adequacy, in which we were basically paying $110,000 of that to get that much building out of that money. So that's the reason why I just made the comments about current design. Of course, the decision is up to the board, and I'll continue giving my thoughts on option 1, 2, and current design.
Thank you, Mr. Perez. Thank you, Mr. Sanji, and the other person that gave the presentation. I didn't know who or what your name was. So.
Antonio, and thank you very much, Mr. Perez, board members. We are here to address your questions, and we'll follow up with Vance with the chart that was requested. We are open to having further conversations on it. I do want to kind of quickly mention one thing. The educational specifications for the Bluewater was something we actually prepared in collaboration with the school building committee, and making sure that every bit of the state's requirements for a K through 5th grade school was accommodated in this campus. But there are some specifics that are unique to Bluewater that we have to address, and that's what we did. Each of the spaces have multi-use components to it. So for example, the Navajo classroom is actually a Navajo classroom and an art classroom combined together. The music classroom is actually music classroom and occupational therapy combined together. the computer lab is actually a Title I program that is combined together. So each of the space has dual use for the most efficient organization as well as use, and utilization is very important. So we are very mindful of it. With that, I want to end our presentation, but we are open to providing additional details at the next meeting. So look forward to that as well. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Sanjay. Okay, let's move on. Action items tonight. Consideration of approval of local grants, road fund, LGRF, cooperative resolution 2021-1. Your recommendation, Mr. Perez?
Yes, sir, Mr. President, Board. I do recommend the approval of the local grants road fund cooperative resolution 2021-1 as presented.
Okay, with that, I need a motion.
Garishambo
Okay,
makes the motion to approve.
need a second.
I'll second it.
Discussion? Mr. Perez, you got somebody?
Mr. Lee, you prepared for that one?
Sure, yeah. Mr. President, members of the board, Superintendent Pettis, this is the resolution that goes with the agreement that you all approved at the last board meeting for the local road fund grant for our work with the City of Grants. And it's just the resolution indicating that that we will participate in the project. You've already approved the agreement.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. Any questions from the board for Mr. Lee? If not, we'll do roll call.
Dr. Shambo,
Yes.
Emily Andeli,
Yes.
Richard Jones,
Aye.
Jan Sandoval, Ron Ortiz.
Yes. Action item B, consideration of approval of professional service agreement architect for Mesa View Elementary design. Your recommendation, Mr. Perez?
Yes, sir, Mr. President, Board, I do recommend approval of the professional service agreement architect for Mesa View Elementary design as presented.
Okay, with that, I'll need a motion.
Garishambo motion, I approve this. I make this motion to approve.
Need a second?
I will second it.
Okay, discussion? Mr. Perez?
Mr. Lee?
Yes, once again, Mr. President, members of the board, Superintendent Pettis, this is finally, we've gone through a long and lengthy process to come to you with a contract for the architect professional services for the Mesa View replacement project. You're actually approving the contract with Wilson and Company Architects.
What's the total amount on that, Vance?
I'm sorry?
What's the total amount?
I'd have to look that up. It's a
16,989, 470.
yeah, it's 10% of that actually. So it's 1.5 million, give or take. So it's a part of it's 10% of the total project basically.
Okay.
There's an amount specifically in the contract, and I'm trying to pull that up now.
Yeah, I was trying to find it. I had it and then I lost it. So I just want the board to know what the amounts are. So.
Well, let's pin it down. What is the amount?
I'm looking that up right now. It is, our share at this point is 256, I'm sorry, it's 256,200. The total amount of contract is 985,385. And the PSFA is, their share is 729,158. So the total contract is close to $1 million, but our share is 256 plus reimbursables.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Lee. Appreciate that. Any other discussion? Comment?
Mr. Ortiz, I'm looking at the a visual of the costs, and bear with me. I'm trying to understand what I'm voting on. Mr. Lee, I see a table that lists the allowable fees payment schedule. Am I correct?
Yes, sir. That's correct.
Would you tell me where I am? I looked at this before, but it was not. I need to be educated about this. It says total contract sum 1,085,805.52. Then it says co-owner and owner. Then it says total fixed compensation from schematic design all the way down to 11-month post substantial. And it says the total is $985,385.24. So are you saying that the total, one of those totals is going to be the contract that we will compensate the firm on?
No, if you'll look, and I've looked at it a little more closely. The table that you see below, the 256,200 is carried up. If you look at the very top, it's that same amount. That's a breakdown. The stuff below is a breakdown of those costs. So you have the 256,200 plus the 5,500 for a 261,700. And then the gross receipts tax is 20,608. Our total would be 282,309. I'm sorry for that misstatement there.
So what are we going to compensate the firm on? What is the total amount?
Our total amount is 282,309 and 43 cents.
When you say our, what do you mean by that?
Grant Cibola County Schools.
We're entering into a contract with an architectural firm, am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and that's for the purpose of the planning and design of the existing facility. And this is basically a schedule of that effort. And so in the end, what would be the total amount that we will be paying this firm?
$282,309.43.
Got it. Thank you.
Total contract sum.
No other contract, no other questions.
Okay. Okay, with that, roll call.
Dr. Barashambo,
Yes.
Emily Hunt Daly,
Yes.
Richard Jones, Richard Jones,
Aye.
Jan
Can you
Sandoval.
guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Ron Ortiz.
Yes. Motion carries. Action item C, consideration of approval to purchase fleet vehicle. Superintendent Perez, your recommendation.
Mr. President, Board, I do recommend that we approve the purchase of the fleet vehicles.
You need a motion?
So moved.
Okay. Need a second?
Second, Emily Hunt Daly.
Thank you, Emily. Discussion, Superintendent Perez.
Sir, Mr. Maldonado, you want to give us the overview?
Yes, of course, Mr. President, board members, Mr. Superintendent. Last April, you approved the purchase of 8 vehicles through an invitation to bid. 4 of those vehicles were Ford Edges, which the production and the delivery of those vehicles have been significantly delayed to, at one point it was no ETA, no estimated time of delivery. And then we recently received an ETA, tentative ETA sometime out in October. So that's over 6 months from the time that we placed the order. In the invitation to bid, we have the prerogative to, we called for a 60-day delivery, and we have the prerogative to change that. And so what we, the district meets these vehicles sooner. And so we contacted other dealers who had vehicles in stock and who were also part of the state procurement contract so that we didn't have to go out for an invitation to bid. We made some modifications, and we then got estimates for 2 half-ton crew cab trucks with toolboxes and 3 Ford Escapes all-wheel drive, which is just a smaller version of the Edges, and 1 Ford Escape front-wheel drive that we would want to obtain from John Chalmers Ford. They have it in stock. They're on hold, ready for us. They can deliver these as early as Thursday for us. We would use the wind farm money again. We collected our net proceeds from the auction a couple Saturdays ago was $87,000. Then we will cancel the 4 Ford Edges from the current purchase order that was given to Corley Ford. The trucks, the utility trucks, the Bronco, and the vans that were on order before will still remain. So they'll have an open PO with Corley Ford, and then we'll have this purchase order with Chalmers Ford. When we did the finalize the auction, we also have recognized that we also have some other vehicles that need to be retired as soon as possible. So in the interest of safety, so in the interest of being able to provide vehicles that we can get more readily, we want to present this, and we're asking the board to approve the purchase of 6 vehicles for a total purchase price of $175,878.
Thank you, Mr. Maldonado. Any questions from the board? If not, roll call.
Campbell,
Yes.
Emily Daly,
Yes.
Richard Jones,
Aye.
Sandoval, Ortiz.
Yes. Motion carries. Action item D, consideration of approval of the therapy services contract. Superintendent Perez, your recommendation?
Yes, sir, Mr. President, Board, I recommend that we approve the therapy services contracts as presented.
Okay, you need a motion?
Emily Hunt Daly, so moved.
Need a second?
Second.
Okay. Discussion?
I think you have some information, Mr. Maldonado.
Thank you.
Absolutely, sir. We did a request for proposals a month or so ago. The committee reviewed those proposals for all these required therapy services for students in all schools and students who required this. This is budgeted through our Medicaid reimbursement. These are the providers that scored highest and are ready to provide services once the board approves these physical, occupational, speech and language pathology, recreational services, as well as diagnostic services. These are required services that for us to provide to students in our district. These are 1-year prices. We want to go back again next year after we have a better understanding of how these services are offered. Some will be offered both in person and by telehealth services as provided by Medicaid's and allowable services through telehealth. So we're asking the board to approve for school year 21-22, $2,022,450.83 for these 6 providers. Once approved, we will execute contracts as early as tomorrow so that they can begin providing services to our students.
Any questions, comments for Mr. Maldonado from the board?
Mr. President.
Yes, Dr. Gall.
I need to hear from Delise Jones.
Ms. Jones, are you on? You're on mute, Delise.
I'm here.
Ms. Jones, can you explain your side of the? Yeah.
Yes, sir. The therapy services that we have here in the district are for students that have IEPs. They are services that are provided after students have been tested thoroughly and it has been determined by the testing and the IEP team that a student would benefit from the services. All of the services that we provide are geared towards helping the students be more educationally prepared and to help to even the playing field between the students that have IEPs and the students that do not have IEPs. So all of our therapies are educationally based.
Ms. Jones.
Does anyone have any other questions or confirmations that I could make?
Ms. Jones, this is Mr. Shambo.
Yes, sir.
Presence learning, 21 days per week. Explain.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So what that means is that 4 people would work 5 days per week and 1 person would work 1 day per week. And that equals the 21 days per week. And that's the way that we describe it because due to the way that the formula works for their pay, that's the way that we describe it. So like I said, it would be 4 people working full time and then 1 person working only 1 day per week.
Speech therapy.
Yes, sir.
Easy therapy.
We have
easy therapy and diagnostic, 15 days per week. Explain that. Similar?
Yes, sir. It would be 3 people working 5 days a week. Now, once in a while, the companies have someone that just wants to work 3 days a week or 2 days a week, something like that, due to other obligations. But what they're responsible for the 15 days, what they're responsible for is to provide 5 days of service times 3 full FTEs. So if they have someone that wants to just work 3 days a week, then they're obligated to find someone else to work 2 days a week to fill that 5 day a week gap.
All right. Thank you. That was a necessary and very understandable explanation by you. And I appreciate the effort that you and your team have done in getting this. I just needed more clarification, that's all. Mr. Pettit, Mr. Ortiz, I have no other questions.
Roll call.
Dr. Garashambo?
Yes.
Emily Monday?
Yes.
Richard Jones?
Aye.
John Sandoval? Robert Ortiz?
Yes. Action item E, Consideration of approval to accept award from New Mexico State Appropriation, Career and Technology Education, 27502. Superintendent Perez, your recommendation?
Yes, sir. Mr. President, Board, I recommend that we approve to accept the award from the New Mexico State Appropriation, Career and Technical Education, 27502 as presented.
Okay, I need a motion.
Emily Hunt Daly, so moved.
Need a second?
Garashambo seconds.
Okay. Discussion?
Mr. President, Board, so this is, we have a deadline to accept the award. So with your approval this evening, we'll meet that deadline. And then we'll be following up with this with the bar to bar these funds into our accounts. Mr. Maldonado, did you want to add to that?
Yes, thank you, sir. The amount of the award in the supplemental funding is $15,387. So once approved, we can move forward with getting this budget adjustment review and permission to spend.
Any questions, comments from the board?
Summarize for Mr. Ortiz, President Ortiz, Mr. Perez, or whomever. Summarize the purpose of the funding.
I can do that, sir, if you want, Mr. Perez. Yes. So this is a supplemental award for CTE programs that is part of a 7-year appropriation by the state. This funding is specifically for providing professional development, supplies and materials. Also to work with students on math enhancements in the career and technical fields, math integration curriculum and materials. And the idea is to supplement current CTE, career and technical education programs with a more robust math curriculum that's integrated into, for example, integrated into the instruction for career and technical education.
What grade levels?
It's for secondary school.
Okay. All 9 through 12 then?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. No other questions for me?
Roll call.
Dr. Carter Shamble,
Yes.
Daly,
Yes.
Richard Jones,
Aye.
Sandoval, Ron Ortiz.
Yes. Motion carries. Consent agenda. Superintendent Perez, your recommendation?
Mr. President, Board, I recommend that we approve the consent agenda this evening as presented.
Need a motion?
So moved. Emily Hunt Daly.
Need a second?
Garashambo seconds.
Any discussion? If not, roll call.
Dr. Carter Shamble,
Yes.
Daly,
Yes.
Richard Jones,
Yes.
Ron Ortiz.
Yes. Motion carries. Superintendent's report, Mr. Perez.
Yes, sir. So in the report, in your packets, I believe you also, I shared a update from the state as far as the changes in their toolkit or guidance on masking. So just to make you aware that the most recent information received today is that all students and staff are required to wear masks statewide. The other change in it that's significant is that the non-vaccinated staff in the district, or any district for that matter, must now be COVID tested every week rather than previously was every 2 weeks. So I just want to make you aware that we will be sharing more information as that develops. But I just did want to make you aware that some information is in your packet. And I'll be glad to answer any questions later or phone calls. if you have any questions about that. But on my report, it was suggested, and I think it's a great idea, that we present to the board a calendar of the dates. Thank you, Dr. Archambault. I think what we'll do is take our regular board meeting dates throughout the year, but include on that for board members is some of the upcoming events, so that we can have some foresight into, like, the superintendent evaluation date. We usually have an executive session prior, and then we have a vote following. We can have that on the calendar. We can try and calendar out the best we can, audit visits, audit dates, when we enter the audit entrance, kind of things. We'll try to calendar in any kind of activity that we have around the elections that come up that'll be coming up in November, those type of things. So Ms. Lorraine Sandoval and myself will be sitting together and putting some of these items on the calendar for the year and bring it to you hopefully very soon.
Thank you.
That's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Perez. Announcements are there, so you can look at them. Oh, board training, I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm sorry. One more. We're trying to get a date, sorry, Mr. President. The date for we can all get together as a school board. We can have a full day of training. Right now, the date that's out that seems like most of you agree with so far is
September 10th.
September 10th, which is a Friday. If we can, I'd like to, we won't need to vote on it now, but just know that that date is out there. We can continue setting that up. If we can just know that most of you or all of you will be can be in attendance for that. So September 10th.
Hey, this is Richard Jones. I absolutely can't be there on Friday the 10th. No, Friday, I can never be there on Friday.
Okay.
Richard, what days would be good for you?
Tuesday, Wednesday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, preferably, but for sure not Friday.
Okay. Board members, we ought to consider Saturday.
For sure not Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. I need it Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, if possible.
I can't absolutely do Fridays. I can do Saturdays or Sundays.
We're back to where we've been at for years.
I'm
disappointed.
I
understand that. I understand we have all kinds of commitments, but it's really unfortunate.
So let me, just for a food for thought, and I'm brainstorming, is maybe we can have two sessions.
What we can do is to come up with something creative, okay? See what you can do.
Okay, we'll be working on that. So thank you all.
That's it, Mr. Perez?
That's it.
Okay.
Mr. Perez, I'd like to ask if you can provide us data on any exposures or stuff at any of our schools. I don't know if that's legal or not, but just to make sure that I know we're going to go testing every week, but have we had any incidents of positive exposure at any of our schools? Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. And just to answer that question, we will continue the process that we had in which if we have a case out of school, we'll be sending notification out to all the appropriate people that need to be informed, which I included the board all of last year. Now we'll continue to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, with that, announcements, they're there. See what's going on. Future agenda items, get with me or Superintendent Perez. Need a motion to adjourn.
Garchambo. Oh, second, Garchambo.
Need a second, Emily?
Garchambo, seconds.
Emily had Daly moved first.
Okay. Roll call.
Dr. Barashambo,
Yes.
Emily Hunt Daly,
Yes.
Richard Jones,
Aye.
Robert Tuesday.
Yes. Meeting adjourned at 7:35. Thank you, everybody. Good night.